They asked for it.
Yeah.
A lot of people asked because I sort of I teased this. I said we might be getting Charlie back straight away. All the comments in the last video.
I love cocaine.
Bring back.
Oh, fucking guy. It's my favourite.
I've got a gambling problem. Don't bring him. No.
Yeah.
They actually were really wanting you back. So yeah, we'll go, mate.
Yeah.
And
Good to have you.
Charlie Carrel, and he's brought his girlfriend.
My girlfriend. This is Hannah.
Hannah.
we do give her a name.
Hannah, everyone.
We decided.
Yeah. First name basis.
Second lady we've had on the show. Quite a sort of prestigious thing.
Thank you.
Not quite as special as if we got here 2 weeks ago, but we'll take it.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
She beat us to the punch. But what the fuck? You said you were never getting a proper girlfriend. Now this happened.
We thought you were gay.
Is that what you got from just like he dates 4 or 5 people? He's overcompensating.
It was the trousers.
All right, mate. Whatever. We believe you. What happened?
Well, actually, it came along with getting a haircut, and I turned so masculine that
We've all had it. We've all done it.
It was irresistible. Yeah. All right. How did you meet? Let's start with that.
It's a fucking it's quite a long one.
We've got a couple hours.
Yeah, okay, we can probably bash it out. Okay, so I don't know if I mentioned, but last time I was on, I had already been friends with a couple of cam girls. I said porn actresses, but they're cam girls / porn actresses.
So what's a cam girl?
A cam girl, the sites where you see girls get on webcam. They like pop up sometimes. It's just someone going. Right. And
you can see why she's with them.
So you're tipping money, and they do more rat-a-tats and stuff.
So some people don't know
rat-a-tat.
we have Babe Station in this country and stuff like that, but it's like more that's like a TV channel where they do similar stuff. But you can ring in. But yeah, so on the internet, people pay to watch girls basically.
Yeah.
It's basically like live porn.
In a way.
In a way, yeah.
And we're all about that live stream life.
Right. Yeah.
We've never done that. Not yet, but see how my career goes. You know what I mean? So is that what you used to do?
So all right, bit of context. I was very heavy into the cam girl industry, making my own campsite. Decided to bail out of it because the niche that we were going to was filled. But I was.
And what got you heavy into the cam girl industry? Do you just like watching them or stuff?
I don't particularly like. It's so like predatory if you actually watch it. It's like 60 to 1,000 guys just being like, take off your top, I like your tits, and it's like whatever. But
pathetic.
Whatever people are into, I'm not judging at all.
Absolutely pathetic.
Yes, like I was doing this last night.
Don't judge me.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Don't judge. Did you say don't judge me, or did you say don't?
Sorry.
Freudian slip. Okay.
To be honest, I hadn't really used the cam girl sites before, but what I do like is some of the recordings of those girls do make their way onto a regular porn site.
Okay.
That's actually better really than just watching, because it's a real person, so it's a bit less staged.
No scripting, no performative stuff. They're just like doing
so
their thing.
So you were doing that, and you sort of met each other through that?
Yeah.
How?
I was scrolling. I can't remember if I was doing it like recreationally and just masturbating, or if I was doing it because I had to like search through the sites to look for girls to join our site because we're going to pay them. And I came across Hannah.
What research that must have been. Why didn't you call me?
Grind. Oh, I remember. It was
either way, he's masturbating. Should we put it there?
Ayla was in Vegas working.
No, whilst I saw you, I don't think. I remember I was playing a poker tournament at the same time, which I happened to have won at the same time for like 60k. Super.
So everyone's out there wondering your secrets.
You got to be multitasking. Yeah. Okay.
Just don't do it with the wrong hand.
Get sticky mouse.
Otherwise, the pain. I'm going all in. Yeah.
All right. So I came across Hannah, and I just like got a lot of feelings that I don't usually get for someone, and I checked out her YouTube channel because usually they link to YouTube channels and stuff.
Oh, you have a YouTube channel?
I did.
Had a YouTube channel. There's a fucking long story. There's a fucking long story.
People will be wanting that to relaunch. So I'll ask her later.
She's literally making a YouTube channel now, but we'll get there.
There's a lot of guys out there right now who are just really angry that Con keeps cutting back to our faces. It stops them.
It's fucking Zoom.
Yeah, exactly.
He knows how to feel. He used to be there. With her, living the dream.
So
can I ask, right? So, what was it like to be a cam girl?
It was really fun, but at the same time, the reason why I had to do it wasn't for like the best reason. It was I was in an abusive relationship and basically was trapped in a bedroom for a long time, and my only way of making money was webcam modeling, and all of my money was taken by my ex. And
so he was acting as like a pimp, and for want of a better word.
Yes.
Cunt. Better word.
Yeah. Sure.
You found it.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Okay.
so that's obviously quite an exclusive sort of way to get into that in a way, I guess, because that's not the typical way that I guess someone
Is there a
gets into the
typical
industry.
way?
No, everybody has very different backgrounds. There's a lot of like moms and just whatever, like anybody that...
Did he suggest it then, this guy?
Yes. Yeah. He was the one that came to me and said, here, this is what you can do since you can't leave.
And why couldn't you leave?
So I have a bad past with family, and at 18 met my ex and decided to move out at the same time. They found out about my ex, and very religious, so they're
Wow. Which religion?
Christian.
Right.
And
Good one.
It's one of the best.
I mean, they're closer to right. Do you know what I mean?
My top three.
You're on your way. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay.
Good try.
There's a
It's
lot
like
of
halfway to Buddhism.
There's so much nervous laughing from
Yeah.
It's okay, right?
Don't judge me.
Yeah. Jesus hated gamblers as well, just so you know. Yeah.
To be fair, you're an upgrade, aren't you? So you're good.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you were like taking your clothes off and stuff like that for the first time, can you remember what went through your head the first time you did it?
yes, I started the camera, turned it off.
Right.
Started the camera, sat there, turned it off. And just did that for a few times, and then finally did it for like 20 minutes straight. I think I made like $5. I was shaking really bad, got a really bad headache, which it actually triggered some kind of like trauma memories, which is weird. But it was really, really nerve-wracking, but fun at the same time.
What, like
Something
exciting?
Yeah, exciting.
And what was exciting about it, do you know?
You have all this control and power that you're just sitting there and people are just throwing money at you just because they want to talk to you or because they want to look at you, and that's super empowering.
I can't even. I literally can't even imagine. I mean, actually, I am a YouTuber.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, people literally sit there just to watch you guys.
I mean, but it's
No
not
one's-
because I'm pretty,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Let's put it this way, no one's masturbating over you.
Hey, come on, bro.
You don't
If
know.
any-
I reckon
You haven't read the Instagram DMs.
Yeah. I mean, to be...
I will. I'll show you them later.
I think though you actively, and this is probably known, you actively make erections shrivel.
Thank God. Yeah.
You're currently making
Yeah.
Inferior. It's one of those things.
Yeah,
you know what I
exactly,
mean?
yeah.
Anyway, so I know we're joking a lot. And we're probably going to continue doing this. That's fine. But like, fuck me, that's pretty serious shit to be doing. Like, were you 18 when you did the first time?
19.
19.
And why did he get you into this situation?
So after I had moved out at 18, I was still in college and I was working, and life was going by really fast and it was really hard, and I wasn't really able to handle that.
You weren't enjoying college or working? Okay.
No, and he had me try MDMA for the first time. And
In his room?
No, it was at my
okay.
place. And took way too much and ended up just having like this really awesome, enlightening experience. But then afterwards, the come down, I just wanted to die for like 12 hours straight. And then decided, okay, I'm gonna quit school, I'm gonna quit work, and I don't care about anything anymore.
Okay.
So I just stopped everything, and then about a month later, I decided to leave my place, just drop it, and move in with him. And which was, probably not the best decision, but anyways.
Was this and just to be clear, was this sort of like influenced by him, or was it sort of were these what you felt were independent decisions?
They felt very independent.
Right.
He was supportive. He was 25 when I was 18. To give you a little, he was acting a lot more immature on my level, so it kind of felt like I was doing the right thing. Yeah. 25, it's fine. Work as a cook, do your thing.
Yeah.
No judge. But whenever you bring somebody else down with you, it's just kind of. Anyways.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's a hard. I think that's why a lot of girls date older guys, which is sort of a side thing.
Yeah.
And so you moved in with him.
Yes. And I got rid of all of my stuff. He convinced me to sell my car. We went and took a trip to Northern California to trim weed to make money because neither one of us was working. And it was a really fun experience, except we really fucked up the sending back process. And it got seized.
Sending back the weed that trimmed in.
Right.
It got seized. And so then we were back to zero. And it was really depressing. And he was like, I'm not going to work. I'm not going to go work for somebody. And I was like, well, I mean, your roommates don't know that I live here. They can't know that I live here. I can't leave your room and I can't work. So something has to be done. And then that's kind of when he started suggesting that I started webcamming.
To give some context, you can make fuckloads of money through camming.
What big amounts would you say? Just give us a ballpark figure.
So like the ones that are nearer the top, like a couple of my friends, that their best months were like 50K in a month. I think you were making like 150 an hour or something, dollars. Pretty fucking good.
Which is good, but I guess, money obviously intrinsically has a value, but a lot of people wouldn't think that you can put a value on that sort of personal aspect to some. Not everyone will want to get into that industry.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's one of the things where if you do enjoy it, you suddenly just have the sickest job because you can just work your own hours. You can do whatever the fuck you want with it. Be super creative with it.
Yeah, there's lots
just
of
print money.
It's more than just getting naked in front of the camera. There's so many games that you can play and
chess. what sort of things are we talking? Like games?
Yeah. I actually came up with this really fun game, which was called
Spin the Wheel.
Pin the dick on the unicorn, something like that. Right. And so I blindfolded myself and was hula hooping, and did that for like a while. And then I would take a dildo with a suction cup, and I drew a horse on a expo board, and sectioned it like A, B, and C, and I had to just stick it on blindfold, and whatever it landed on, there was a list of things for A that I would do if it got on
take
A.
your top off and
yeah, stuff
game.
like that.
Good game.
So
later we'll be playing that game.
This is my kind of thing.
Right.
So you said about the good things. I'm taking from this that you enjoyed the performer thing. You felt like people are turning up, they want to watch you perform, and I guess you got a buzz off of that. Yeah,
my favorite client would take me into a private show, which means that they pay more per second or minute or something like that. And
is that a lot more? Just out of interest?
Yes. So there's a public show where people can just tip. And then there's a group show where everybody in the group show is paying per minute. Right. And then a private show is just one person. And then people can spy and pay for that, whatever.
I don't know that sounds creepy. I don't like that word.
It's fine.
I love how you picked that out as the creepy thing. Okay.
He's putting his foot down now.
Too far. Now the proof comes.
You're telling me they can see you? What?
But my favorite client, he would always just have me for an hour just lip sync and dance to songs. And that was super fun for me because he would tip a lot and it was just a lot of money, and I just got to do something that I enjoyed.
Do you find out much about him because you're talking the whole time, I'm guessing?
You knew his music taste.
No. We didn't talk much. It was just he would say dance to this song, or there was one person that did want to just get to know me for an hour as well, which that was really cool. And I would try to ask him questions to get to know him. He's like, no, I want to know about you. I was like, okay.
Did you ever have any fears though, maybe this guy is a mile down the road with some binoculars or some shit like that?
No, because you can block off what states and countries that you don't want to see your stream, and so I blocked off my state, and so no chance of that. I mean, maybe somebody could track me down.
I guess it's kind of clever, so people in your local area won't really know.
Never get pointed at the supermarket about it.
Yeah.
What was the things that you got asked for in particular that you would be fucking hell, this cunt is weird? I'm really looking forward to this answer.
Yeah.
I don't think. Okay. So there was one guy who. So my cam girl name was. Mm-hmm. And he named himself Mr. Child, and he would always come on and he would ask for the strangest things. But it was never sexual. It was always like, he would tip and say, oink like a pig. And I was
that was probably sexual to him, wasn't it?
No, it was always just like random stuff, or he would just want me to do like funny like things like that, which
would, what do you mean, like he would want you to do silly things that would make you look a bit silly?
And would you remain dressed for that?
Sometimes no,
right.
And it would happen sometimes when I wasn't fully dressed, so it did make me kind of uncomfortable. Or he would say, you know, like, mash your face in a funny position. I'm like, I don't want to look stupid in front of all these people, you know. So that was probably more of like the weirder stuff.
But is there anything you said no to?
Yeah, I've said no to a lot of things.
Like I guess there's a lot of fetishes in this kind of thing. Like people want to see your feet or sort of.
I didn't get too many fetish requests.
Interesting.
So like your bread and butter was sort of just shows your boobs and stuff like that. Yeah.
Do some dancing.
Yeah. I did a lot of dancing.
What kind of songs were you lip syncing to? Just out of interest.
The question on everyone's mind.
So
it's just details. You want to know details.
He just wants to know for later when he's imagining.
I think there was some Britney Spears.
Right, so it's sort of like pop song. It's not like
it was a lot
it's
of
not
pop
Evita.
stuff.
Do you know what? Yeah. You're not remaking the Phantom of the Opera.
No.
Because I'm always trying to go into what these guys are thinking and like, all right, sort of.
Taylor's oldest time. Girl. I'll sing the man bit, you sing the girl bit. He's at home going like, be our guest, be our guest. Do the candle hands. Yeah.
The real fetishes are coming out.
I just want to say right now, I'm doing a podcast with a former cam girl singing Beauty and the Beast songs. Like, this is what my life is becoming.
Never thought it was going to go in that
I'm living the dream, honestly. So, all right, so what is it like for you knowing, because you're really pretty chilled out, but every man gets a little bit like protective and a little bit possessive over their girlfriend. Most men anyway. When you think about the fact that all these guys are watching and having a wank over your girlfriend, what does that make you feel like?
She doesn't cam anymore. I don't know. So like when I got to know her at first, we were just friends and I was just like super comfortable with the cam girl thing because other friends were cam girls as well. I don't really get jealous too much. I do now, actually. Since we've gone into a monogamous relationship, I've had to like have that codependency thing, which I've been heavily avoiding through polyamory. And now started to, it's a lot harder because we're really open with each other about like, hey, I'm attracted to this person, or I'm attracted to this person. I had this thought about this person, and you know, just like pretty healthy to that, but it can sometimes bring some insecurities and stuff.
Right, so at what point did you feel that little bit of like, because who was it who suggested us and only us?
It was kind of like a mutual decision.
Yeah, so the way it went down is I found her online and just messaged her and was like, hey, yo, what's up?
I messaged you.
Okay. Okay. So like, okay.
Thanks for the money.
The way it went down, this sounds super bad. But yeah, whatevs. She had a video up that was like, hey guys, I hate to ask for this, but I'm in a really shit spot. I'm stuck in a bedroom and I can't get out, and I really need to raise some money to try and escape this situation. It's really, really shitty. I'm just living with my friend. She said friend.
Smart girl.
And I was like, I feel a lot towards this person. I don't expect to, like, I want to help, but I don't expect anything in return because it's kind of weird, like giving someone money and then just being like, oh,
when you give people money, it's funny how people react to that generally. Yeah. Even though you're sort of in that business, now you're not doing it for that reason. You're telling people, actually, this is not for me to fucking sing songs on you. This is fucking real. Do you know what I mean? Because I need help.
The reality is as well, and I think there's sort of an unavoidable side that there are people who believe it's exploitative in some way, or that doesn't necessarily portray women in a particularly dominant light. And so to know then that you're watching a girl who is actually trapped by a man in a room to do this, I mean, that's not the kind of thing that would turn someone on, I guess, to watch. If you watch
exactly.
that video,
if they knew it was behind the curtains, they probably wouldn't. I mean, some people might, but
I mean, I get that's very like specific.
Whatever floats your boat.
No, it's a very specific thing, and so you were compelled to send money. Yeah, Sorry, can I just ask one question? When you first saw her, it was on a cam and she was doing her thing.
I was actually trying to raise money for moving out that night and had a goal, and ended up the show flopped and I didn't make the goal until...
Yeah. I didn't actually watch much of the show because I was playing poker, but during the breaks I'd like watch her YouTube channel and I just like fell in love, which doesn't happen very often with people that I haven't met. And the one that said, hey, I need to raise money, I was like, that sounds so specific that it's probably not a lie. And I feel like helping, so I sent money. Said
so like, you sent the rest, didn't you?
Huh? No, I didn't send it all. Huh?
You soppy bastard.
What?
Did you send the whole lot
of the money?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I sent an amount. I sent like 1K or something.
Was that all?
And
cheap bastard.
And I got a message the next day from Hannah being like, oh, thank you so much. And I was like, that's cool, but didn't expect it to go anywhere because I felt kind of like weird about it's such a weird power dynamic between that kind of thing, even though I don't think money's like super relevant. I know to some people it creates like weird feelings.
Everyone thinks that, all right, you gave her money, so now you're going to expect things in return and da-da-da-da.
What was it that originally attracted you to the multi-millionaire Charlie?
You know, people at home are going to be thinking this shit.
Yeah, so exactly. That's why I'm trying to like phrase it so it doesn't...
let's be honest,
right, Can I
you
say
know
one
how
thing?
everyone's going to think.
Exactly. Can I say one thing? It definitely, like, I had those warning signs in my head already. I was already thinking about it, but over the next like 2 months that we spoke, Hannah didn't mention money once. Right. She didn't ask for money. And I've been around people that use others for money, and it always like the conversation somehow gets back to like their money.
We asked them for money when we did the first podcast. Yeah. Fuck all investment.
Fuck all. See if they ask, and but Hannah was like super respectful. We were just friends, and no red flags were.
Hannah deserves to answer the question as well.
Yeah.
So I didn't really look him up too much. I just like saw his name and like looked up really quickly and I was like, oh, he's a poker player, so he's got money to spare. That's cool. And then so I went to his Twitter and then messaged him, and then we just talked, and I saw his pictures and I thought it was very cute.
He's quite a handsome guy.
One thing that doesn't quite add up, and I'm not saying I question the story in any way.
We're like his mom and dad all of a sudden, not with our Charlie.
Oh, no. So it's more like Columbo. Oh, one more thing. One thing that doesn't add up is like how. So you have a very controlling boyfriend who keeps you in a room, right? How do you end up making a video which he doesn't see, or he's not monitoring his channel in some way, or sort of like?
No, he knew about that. It was kind of like a collective idea to
get you out.
Well, we both wanted to move out, and he decided to not put any effort into moving out, and I said, well, then I guess I'm just gonna ask them for more money, so we can. But yeah, so he knew about the video, and he
was fine with that.
He was fine with the video, but he didn't know that Hannah and I started speaking loads afterwards.
He did know that we were speaking. He didn't know that we were speaking as much as we were speaking.
Right. So essentially, what he sees is a client relationship almost, where it's like you're just entertaining a guy who's just sending you money. He's happy to.
Yeah.
Oh, he's fucked it right up, hasn't he?
He was such a dick though. Like. We were friends for probably like we were friends for like 2 months, and we got super close within like a day.
Because we were just speaking all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And every day I would just get a new message from Hannah, who didn't see him as abusive at the time, saying like, "Oh, we got in another argument. He hit me," or "We got in another argument and he stopped speaking to me for like a day. He got in another argument. He forced himself on me sexually," things like that. And it was like pretty heartbreaking to see one of my friends go through that and be in kind of like denial.
It's mad how people can be sort of unaware of what they've become used to.
Yeah, you get such reality distortion that it's just like your normal is just fucked.
And when you look back on that, do you sort of see yourself as almost like a separate person, like that was the person who went through that, or does it still very much feel like it happened to you?
It feels very much like a different person. Very, very much.
How long ago was that?
5 months ago.
Yeah.
So it's still quite
very
recent.
In
many
ways.
Wow.
Feels like a long time.
Yeah,
a lot has happened.
For the people, I mean, at the end of the day, you might not give a fuck either way, and fair play if you don't, but like, there will be people out there who'll be like, she's only with Charlie because he's a millionaire.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I don't care.
have you had anyone say that to you yet? Because I know you go to the...
I've
been to the poker
I've had
events,
people say that.
Friends of his that became my friends, like, they said... Probably
shout out to sorry about that.
Shout out.
We can beat that out.
Is that a girl?
Oh yeah.
Little power dynamic there.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you fucked before?
Yeah.
This is juicy as shit. This is the juiciest pile of shit podcast.
We have to cut this.
No.
My big question.
When you walked over that door, you wave over.
My big question is, how many girlfriends do you know that when their boyfriend sits next to them, they go, "Sorry, did you fuck that girl?" They go, "Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. This is such a great moment for us all."
She knows the banter.
Yeah.
So
essentially, you know what you're getting into with Charlie, I guess, in that case.
He's a bit of a ladies' man, and there's other people going to be a bit pissed off at you that you've gotten further than the other girls did. You know what I mean?
There's other girls that have.
Those for sure.
No, but it feels that way to me as someone who's been I've been messaging you for months now, and you've been saying, "Oh, actually,
he hasn't slept with him once.
Hasn't even bought me a drink.
Terrible, yeah. Charlie sent him thousands.
Although he did promise us some damn good mushrooms. So. But no, he said
incredible tips.
Too much truth. Like you've sat off this polyamorous lifestyle, and now it's this. So to me, you are obviously more important than those girls, and they aren't taking that very well.
Yeah, that for sure was a reaction.
Sour-faced bitches.
When we met, I was still super poly, and I thought that I was going to say poly, but
Polly.
You've already made that joke last time. I rewatched the thing that we just did, so I didn't repeat anything. You've already made the poly joke. It was good the first time.
I'm not going to resist it for a second. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
That is Lawrence to that team.
Yeah.
Great joke, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Good the first.
Really good try. Really good try.
But when I met Hannah, I started rethinking polyamory, and I was like, maybe I would prefer poly as to be with one person, but then date other people on the side, not as seriously. But then, because Hannah has some really, really specific emotional needs, which comes from like a lot of abuse in her childhood and things like that. She's never really had a stable relationship. I thought it'd be better for us if we started out at least as exclusive. And then in the future, we're talking about maybe being poly in like a couple of years, 3 years, whatever. But like,
I'm reading so much into what you've just said. Like on the one hand, it's like, that is really nice of you to sort of change your ways for her and make her feel better, but then on the other hand, when you caveat that with maybe in a few years we get back to what
I actually really don't want to be poly at the moment. Like the thought of it makes me super insecure because of the whole codependency thing. Like the thought of her being with someone else now makes me feel weird, but whereas if we like started out with poly, then it probably wouldn't. So yeah, I actually hope that for at least like 5 years we stay exclusive, and it looks like there's a decent chance that might be the case. But you never know.
It's
So what
honestly, think of how many guys there would be that could even sit down with their girlfriend and say that in front of them.
Probably me and him. So I'm just wondering, what do you think has made Charlie go further with you than he did with the other girls? Do you think there's a reason between the two of you? Because you've met these other girls, some of them.
Yeah. I think I'm very needy, and
that's a very modest answer.
I'm also really affectionate, and so I give a lot of attention and need a lot of attention, and there's a lot of personalities going inside of me. So he's just got like
you can't
a poly relationship within me.
We'll get to that bit.
I thought that when he said I've finally got one girlfriend, but she's got multiple personalities.
I don't think we've actually introduced that. Okay, Hannah has DID. It's multiple personality disorder, just as a caveat to
Right. Okay.
we call Lauren someone.
Yeah.
So just what the fuck? How does that work then?
All right, can I just want to say that the reason I am with Hannah and I've gone further with Hannah in terms of exclusivity isn't just because she's more needy, it's because I just love her a lot more than I've loved anyone else.
Put this smack down, son. Fair play. Ellie, if you're watching, sorry. You really just on the plus side though. Do you know what I mean? I play poker, so
she's actually a poker player.
All right, so teach me.
Oh my god, no, bleep that out.
Anyway, moving on.
So many beeps in the edit.
Tom's getting his money.
She plays bleep as well.
Yeah. She's good at badminton.
So the multiple personality thing. So can you tell us when you first realised that was a thing in your life?
It was recently. I think it was like March. This year, not past year, but It's always been throughout my life that I've noticed it, but I just thought it was normal and everybody experienced it until February. I started experiencing extreme symptoms from trauma resurfacing. So that was extremely painful, and I started going to therapy again. Can you, sorry to interrupt you, can you give us, because everyone at the home is going to wonder what you mean by trauma, can you, without actually saying anything you're not comfortable saying, but is there any idea of what that is that you can tell us? Yes, so it would be severe emotional, mental, sexual, physical, verbal abuse, as well as neglect. So that's from within the family, I'm guessing, is it? Yes. Mm-hmm. Also, like, friends and things like that, with the sexual part. I'm not going to say anything, like, exclusively about the sexual abuse. I'm not. You've given quite enough, so that's fine. But, so there's no, like, person I'm going to say anything about. But, yes, so trauma would be extreme, all types of abuse constantly. And we were talking about... So I've watched a documentary on someone with multiple personalities, but it wasn't quite like what you're describing. So it was a woman who would sort of flick, and it was like a TV channel almost. Like 1 minute she was a 5-year-old boy, next minute she's a 30-year-old woman, and it was quite sort of... That's really similar. It was disturbing. Like, I was like... Whoa, you look possessed. Like it was frightening. That's how it is. Each altered personality has their own posture. They have their own way of speaking. They have their own way of writing. Their own age, their own gender, their own sexual preference. In this documentary, there was some dispute from scientists of is this put on? Is this real? And in the end, they just couldn't say it that way. Not yet. I'm just saying 2017, pretty decent research to be fair, and they would say we can't say it that way, but to be fair to this woman, fucking convinced me it was real. Yeah, the thing is, like, the instant reaction to this kind of thing, and I had this reaction, I know Hannah had the reaction when she saw it in herself, is to be skeptical. Yeah. But there have just been so many occasions where it's been so obvious that Hannah has not been in control of when she's been switching. I think it's pretty widely accepted in, like, the psychotherapy community that the idea does exist, and because there is, like, a lot of treatment out there. Hannah was meant to see her therapist yesterday, but got lost in the way and couldn't find him. But how many personalities would you say you've got, and can you describe some of these people, or can you, if you're not aware? So there's 6, and then including myself would be 7 personalities. So going down the list, we've got Bunny, who is the youngest, and she is around the age of 2 to 4. She kind of like flips ages. And then there is Adam, who is 17, and he's obviously a boy. I said he. And then there is Barbie, who is 26 and a female. James, who's 28 and a male. Oliver is 20 and a male. And then Amnesia Girl, who we don't know really anything about. Don't know her name. Right?
So how does Amnesia Girl sort of manifest?
Right, so this is where I was first completely convinced that DID was a thing in Hannah, where we had a night where we took MDMA and then at the end smoked some weed. And we just smoked way too much weeds, and we just like basically passed out. And I was just like lying there next to her, and she was like lying there, and we could barely speak to each other. And then she was flipping in between states, in between her alts, like they're called alter personalities alts, pretty quickly, but they're all pretty like, can't really move. And then
all of them are like, I'm fucked.
What about you? Yeah.
The 2-year-old's like, what you put in my milk?
And then she suddenly sits up, and that was my first introduction to Amnesia Girl. She suddenly sits up and goes, the fuck? No. Who the fuck are you?
I didn't say fuck.
Okay, you didn't say fuck. You're like, what is happening? Who are you? Are you half naked? What is happening? And I was like, what? Charlie. She's like, who's Charlie? And yeah, that was the first introduction of it, and it was just insane. Amnesia Girl has then gone on to cause some pretty horrendous trauma between us, which is a fun story, which we'll get to in a bit because it's to do with drugs, and I want to get onto that later. But yeah, in general, like a lot of the
a lot of people are going to sit in home now going like, what the fuck, like, because you seem to be really carefree last time I seen you, like not really a problem, just making lots of money, having fun, partying, drugs, banging girls, great. Now it's like, and I don't mean this offensively in any way, but it's like he's taking on such a big deal in you, because obviously you've got a lot of problems in your past. It's not just a full-time relationship, like with all these other issues and that, like you're kind of becoming more than a boyfriend here, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
I have my own issues as well that I haven't gone into too much detail about. They're definitely not as intense and high maintenance as Hannah's. So I'd say it's pretty reciprocated in that. Oh,
so you sort of baby each other a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I'll just be acting like a kid for like 2 days and be like, "Get me for it, please." And then sometimes she'll literally be a kid for like 2 days, and it's really cool. One of the coolest things about it is that I get to grow so many different parts of me. Like I've never felt parental or paternal in my life. But when she's a 2-year-old, like, what else the fuck are you meant to feel towards someone that you love?
Yeah.
And it's such
She's
a nice
bringing
way.
out things in you never thought you had.
And so I have my individual relationships with all of them. So, like, I'm in a relationship with 3 of them.
Which 3?
Adam and Barbie.
Right. There's a man in there.
Is the sex different? Is the sex different with them?
So different. So
I mean,
different.
so for instance, with Adam, that...
She brings out the strap.
Well, the thing is, Adam, people got Adam, they don't tend to have a vagina.
Yeah, Adam has a lot of resentment towards that fact.
Yeah.
That he'll often look in the mirror and be like, I don't have a dick. Yeah. Fuck's sake. Because Adam's
a lot of
super
body dysmorphia.
angsty, really like depressed kind of BPD tendency teenager.
Right.
And he causes a fucking lot of trouble. He's so problematic.
And but I guess, so that must really also affect...
This is the weirdest podcast.
But that must also really affect
welcome.
your sex life in a way. So because maybe if you can't fuck a depressed teenager,
Yeah.
then, you know,
Or James, who is very straight, and James and Charlie get along pretty well. They have stuff like they relate on.
Are you aware of what these alternate personalities think and feel? Are they like?
Yes.
Are you almost texting them in the mind, sort of thing? Like, what's going on there?
That's such a really nice way of putting it.
So something with DID is that comes with it is amnesia and a lot of memory loss. And so a lot of times what happens whenever the alts are more in the forefront is that I'll be checked out, sometimes like not be aware of their interactions with the body. But there is a lot of times where there will be arguments between like me and another one, or
how, like, as in you'll skip between people, or
it, like in my head it'll be like 2 people arguing at each other, or like there was a time where Adam was scaring Bunny, and it's really weird. Really confusing.
we've all seen Fight Club.
Yes, it's like that.
It's super Fight
It's
Club-y,
like
Right.
but less.
Are you fucking
Less fighting.
Less revolution and trying to fuck up the world.
Yeah.
But it is a lot like that. I actually saw it for the first time recently and was like, wow, that
Have you ever
feels like
videoed
my life.
any of this? And how did that? So this is becoming more prominent, because I'm thinking, how were you being a cam girl when you were going through this? So it's something that's sort of developed recently, more so.
No, I've experienced it since I was a child. Everybody thought I was moody. Everybody just thought I was just off, or would just get in these weird swings, and I was just kind of like pushed off, and nobody really thought about it too much. And so more recently, it came out as Adam was telling me like, "Hi, I'm Adam. I've been here this whole time. These are all the times that we spent together," and he'd like show me like memories. And like lots of thoughts and things like that, and I was like, whoa.
What's the treatment like for this stuff?
There's a lot of talk therapy. I think it's called EMDR. Yeah, EMDR, which is like a rapid eye movement that makes your eyes go really fast.
Oh,
to go to different
I've
parts
heard
of
about
your
that.
brain.
It's to try and induce memories, I think, of the trauma.
And get you used to those memories rather than you not being able to deal with them. Is that
I think
it brings them out faster than your mind would on its own.
So just to be clear, it started after you experienced trauma or experienced had a bad experience.
Yes,
right.
it comes from an extreme traumatic situation where the child has to detach to be able to survive that situation.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they said in the documentary I watched as well.
And so, but as part of that, obviously, you do have an identity that you've built yourself, so which is you, obviously. So, do those people know necessarily that they aren't real people, or they? Do you know? As in,
how dare you?
You know what I mean by that?
They know that they're alts. They do, because they will see me in the mirror or look down and go, "Whoa, this is wrong. This isn't me." And then they are self-aware. So.
And so essentially they know. And do they know about the other personalities?
Yes, they all are
Apart
like their family.
She has a fucking no clue.
So I guess the interesting side is almost similar to Fight Club in a way. Is they know that if you get treatment, then there is a possibility that those people no longer continue.
They do continue. With treatment, it's more about merging them into be able to function in life more seamlessly.
And how often do they pop out, and how in control of you are you of that?
Every day.
Because we're all sitting here right now and people at home are like, well,
come on then.
Almost like, give her another hour.
So there'll be like specific things that will trigger certain people to come out. So if Hannah feels insecure or defensive, then Adam will come out. And because he's like the protector, and that's like a really common thing with DID, that there's a protector role to deal with all the trauma.
Yeah.
So if Hannah feels like she's in danger, or if she feels like she's upset or something, then he'll come out. But then it might be to do with what she's doing, because one of the alts really likes cleaning. So Oliver.
God, I could do with one of them.
Right? It's so good.
Right.
Yeah. And then there's Barbie, who comes out like when Hannah dyed her hair blonde for a bit. Barbie came out a bunch because Barbie identifies with blonde hair.
Right.
So
obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah, she gets her name from.
Yeah. So and so they have all these personalities sort of come along at once.
No.
Developed.
Well, kind of. They, like I said, they've been there the whole time. I can pinpoint when they started to develop into their own selves and then branch off, because what happens is there'll be like the core, and then the core will branch off, and then that will branch off, and it's just this like web of different fragments.
People with DID can have up to like 200 alts.
That's more rare.
Super rare.
It's usually
you can have anywhere in
about
between.
15 to 16 that people end up having.
I got more.
So
you're saying there's also the possibility you could develop more?
Yes.
Right.
Or they'll just make themselves known, something like that.
Does that happen when more trauma happens? Or does it just...
He's worried if he's to blame for the next one.
That time you didn't text me back. Now we got a new phone.
Now we've got Harry. Yeah.
Harry.
Just got to toe the bus line and keep these motherfuckers in order.
He's got a great razor. But... and I guess there are a lot of questions of this, which obviously you can't answer all of them, but have you done your own research into it and sort of, because I guess you want to understand it as best as possible?
Yes, I have done the best research that I could with what there is. It's very limited information out there. There's hardly any like real articles. If you look up articles, it's all just copy and paste the same thing.
Yeah.
There's only 2 YouTubers that I've seen speak about it, and they don't really touch too much on like their traumas or their life. It's kind of more just like, oh, DID, this is what it is. So there's not too much out there information wise.
So what's your goal with it? Have you sort of been told, look, you're always going to have these personalities?
Basically.
Yes. My goal, I guess, is to just learn how to let them do their thing and be okay with certain things. And
it's really handy to get things like schedules going on where you'd be like, okay, for this part of the day I'm going to do this, and this person will be out, and this person will be out here. We haven't got anywhere near that point yet. It's a bit of a shit show at the moment. But with therapy, apparently you can get to a place where you can just function almost as a normal person.
So since you got together, have you met her parents or each other's parents or anything like that?
No.
Yeah.
She's about to meet my parents. My parents are lovely. But
And her parents? Sorry, Hannah's parents, your parents?
My parents, I haven't seen them in a long time.
Okay.
So
what do you think of what you're getting up to now, and you're with this guy well off and all the rest of it. How do you think they'd view what you've done?
He's quite a sweet guy.
Well,
Yeah.
you mean like with work and
just generally? I think. What do you think if they're seeing you on this show right now with him?
Which they probably are right now. Sup, guys?
Sup, mum? What would they be saying?
Hit subscribe.
Well, I've told my mom about a lot of stuff because I did have to see her after we had met for a short period of time. And she was really heartbroken and upset about a lot of things because, religious and whatnot.
Does she know about the cam girl?
Yeah. I don't know if my dad does or if my
now he
stepdad
does.
does. Now he does. if he's watching this and the rest of my family. And to be honest, like, they probably will be disappointed.
But fuck.
You seem to find that sort of amusing, though.
Yeah, I do, because I grew up being this perfect child, and I fell in line, I obeyed everything, and now I'm just their worst nightmare, apparently.
I think it's sort of healthy, though, when you get boxed into that degree, when sometimes there are people who are like in a rubber band effect who just go ping off the other way, do you know what I mean?
And so I'm just trying to sort of unwrap the story a little bit. So you don't really speak to them anymore. Is that out of your choice, out of their choice?
My choice.
Okay.
They have been trying to stay in contact with me, but I just don't reply.
Because of everything that's happened. So you get with Charlie, knight in shining armour over here. You go, I seen you at one of the poker events.
Yes.
What was it like going to the first poker event? Because he's obviously a big name there. You were like walking around with a celebrity and that sort of thing.
It was so fun.
What was it? How did people treat you because you're his girlfriend? Obviously, you had that one girl that wasn't very impressed with you. But other than her, what was it like generally?
It might have been multiple girls. We don't know.
What was it like generally?
It was really exciting. I got to do an interview with Joe Stapleton.
Yeah, I've seen that. He's a nobody compared to me, but it's fine. It's fine. That was the big interview.
Which one of you did an interview with Joe Stapleton? Did he get a toddler or did he get you?
He got me.
Yeah. Okay, good. That would have actually been so entertaining.
And we got Hannah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where am I? Or even where the fuck am I?
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you're in this big what is it like when you go into these events? Like, tell me what it looks like in that. It's a big hotel and stuff?
The one that was in Vegas was a big casino, and the like, was it like the final table room that you were in?
Probably, I can't remember. Yeah.
Anyways, it was like this big table with like all these cool lights, and it was like all sectioned off, and then the rest was like normal poker tables. I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And then he was on the table, and I was like on the sidelines. I was like, yes, this is just the coolest thing ever. But
It was during the WSOP main event, which is the biggest poker tournament of the year.
Right.
I ran pretty deep, like I got pretty far in it, and so it was along the lines of like, hey, you've already made like 30K, you have a decent-ish chance to make up to 8 million or whatever. So like the lights are on, the TV, like it's on ESPN, like everyone's getting super psyched, and it was just.
What's your current like lifetime? Do you know what your current lifetime winnings are off the top of your head?
No, it'll be like 6 or 7 million, I think.
Yeah, because I keep getting people tweeting me going, your boy Charlie, then just like, just money. I'm like,
yeah,
good lad.
Just after Hannah and I started speaking, I won the Scoop main event, which was super, super fun, which is like the biggest online tournament of the year, and really fun story. I'd like shorten it down, but I played it in Mexico, and when I was on the final table, like the last bit where all the big money is, just before it started, Mexico had a huge power cut. Like half of Mexico had a huge power cut, like the biggest one they've had in years, and it looked like I was about to just like get rid of about like 400K's worth of equity, and just the last second it came on, but only in like specific places, so I had to play it from a Starbucks. So there was actually a moment where I was in a hand and the internet disconnected, and I had to pick up my laptop, sprint through the middle of Playa del Carmen, wherever it's called, with like in my pajamas with like my mouse bashing against my leg, being like, "Where can I get a cafe, guys? Get me your internet." And they're like, "What's going on?" I was like, "I got a poker tournament," and yeah, I ended up winning it. It was super fun.
I see you've still got the sort of pants and that. Yeah.
Still at the trousers.
I thought you would have talked them out of that by now. Do you like that?
I love it.
Do you love that? All right,
Yeah,
that's great.
I picked this out.
I must admit, I thought the jump has a bit too good for you to have chosen. So that makes sense.
He's into this thing now with like black and then trippy and then black.
Yeah, he weirdly dresses like Tyler Durden.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
What, you know, after you came on the first podcast, that was pretty... It was a pretty big podcast, really. That went quite far, good numbers and that. Did you get much feedback off of that?
I got so much.
Yeah?
I got way more recognized in the street, or at least like approached in the street by people who had seen this than people who had seen the thing that was on Channel 4 on.
All right,
And
yeah.
I don't know if that's because more people watch
Just
it,
saying,
like,
bigger than Channel 4.
way bigger than,
yourself,
and way
Channel
more
4.
memorable. That's the thing. Like, people watched the Channel 4 and saw me for like 10 minutes and just forgot. People that watch this are obviously like, if they watched it to the end, they're obviously like relatively interested.
You get right into it, don't you?
The best one, I was in airport security and I'd accidentally taken more than the amount that you're meant to take through, which is like 10K. And to give some context, like in America when that happened, I got stopped and harassed for like 2 hours and they like almost took away all the money. In England, the guy was like, okay, we're gonna have to, wait, are you on the True Geordie podcast? I was like, yeah, it was actually. It was like, oh, don't worry, I'm going to tell him who you are. You can go straight to it. Like,
that is so funny.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice one.
Yeah,
what a
so
legend
good.
he is, huh?
And I like a bunch of people have come up to me and be like, hey, I really watched this, I really like this, and like because we go in so much depth in the interview, they have so much to speak about, and then I get to learn. Like there was this guy that approached me like a few days after on the train and invited me to Ibiza, which is like a sick guy. Like it was fucking, yeah. The reaction to it was really good.
So what do you feel like is the future for you two as a couple then?
For used to. Welcome to England.
Marriage.
Yeah, we're thinking about getting married actually, just for like legal reasons, because like, we have a bunny. So
you have to sort of be married to
for the bunny's sake.
Right. We have to get married for the bunny.
You know. Because Hannah has to go back to America at some point, or I can't stay in America for more than like a few months at a time. So it might just be easier to get married.
Great.
Or you could move to America.
Will the bunny get a green card?
But I think I can only go to America for like 3 months unless we get married. But then if we do get married, I think we might live there. I think.
Yeah.
Probably live like half and half maybe. Yeah, we want to get a furry family. Hannah really wants kids, and I'm slowly being convinced into doing it maybe 10 years down the line.
Yeah.
But
The thing is, after meeting you could not be with a normal, just regular girl. So it does make sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No offense, anything, but you need someone who's got a bit about them, don't you? So that
I really do crave complexity in a person, and I found like the epitome of complexity in Hannah. And
you like solving problems. Like
you're a problem.
This is it. No offense, once again. But when I met you, that was what your fascination of life was, solving problems and feeling like, you know, if we like count this and do that, like you finally found a woman who sort of
my ultimate trial
quenches that thirst.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, it's one of the things where I have always obsessed with finding multifaceted people, to the point where I don't think I mentioned this in the last podcast. When I was younger, there's this book that I'd super recommend called The Dice Man by Luc Reinhardt. And it's about a guy who makes every decision of his life eventually based on the roll of a die. It's fucking crazy. And when I was younger, I lived that dice life for like a year, which, as you can imagine, gets pretty fucking insane.
The dice life.
The dice life, yeah. And
what kind of decisions are we talking here?
Fucking everything, man.
Right.
Like where you go for the day, like who you'd be for the day. And that's the part that I really found interesting, is that you could like create 6 different personalities for yourself and then roll a die, and then that day you'd just be that person.
Right.
And I've always been obsessed with the idea that imagine if everyone else had like 6 personalities, imagine like all the different variables and all the different interesting things that would happen because of it. And I finally fucking found that in a person. How sick is that?
Yeah.
You're like,
That's why that was Brian coming out there. No.
At the same time, he's sort of right. There is like an element of knight in shining armor sort of coming in here, which
I think there's something to be wary of with that, and I don't mean this disrespectfully towards you, but I've been that guy before with a girl where I've thought, I don't know if fix is the right word, but I've met a girl who had problems and I sort of felt sorry for her, and then I thought, all right, I'll just do this and I'll do that, and that shouldn't be the basis, like, and I'm not saying this is for you two, but for me,
sure.
the basis of my relationship was, I feel sorry for this girl, I'm going to look after her, I'm going to protect her, and I'm going to make everything all better. And then I realised after like a while, what's this fucking relationship about? It's me fucking helping her out, not me being in a... So if the relationship's built on, we love each other, we're in a relationship together, we're having fun together, and then it just so happens that, we've got things we want to work on, that's cool. Do you know what I mean? But if it's built on that trying fix someone or whatever, that's never the way forward. And I'm sure you already know that.
Yeah, it's something that we're really aware of as well.
It was something actually my abusive ex did, where he literally would tell me, "I'm going to fix you."
Yeah.
Right. Which is
fucking that guy. Man.
I think
don't want to name him. What kind of...
Yeah. I mean, that's also maybe intrinsic of a personality of someone who's themselves got issues.
Yeah.
For sure. And that, I guess my question to you is like, how does it feel from your side knowing, because I think we're talking about almost a completely different kind of relationship. It doesn't seem like you sort of have a relationship where you need to fix each other or whatever. But very often when people who go to therapy, they have a very fixed idea of themselves, like some of them feel almost like a victim of something that's happened. And obviously you've been through a lot of what you class as traumatic experiences in your life. How do you now see yourself? Like, do you see yourself having come through that? Or like, what's the day-to-day mindset about that?
So the thing about having DID is being completely detached from all that traumatic stuff. So my life feels like I have just heard a story of somebody else's life and I'm just telling that story. I don't have any like real connection to it other than obviously like the triggers and memories type of things.
And it has PTSD as well, so triggers are a thing.
Right.
But we can laugh about it.
Yeah, I understand that that's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to be.
Because with that documentary I watched, that was her thing. It was an escape from all the shit she went through when she was a kid.
Yeah.
So obviously that has taken away pretty key experience, I'd imagine, in your life that maybe other people would class as sort of important times in your life. You know, if you're a child, that's obviously a very important developmental phase. Like, how do you mentally treat that side of things? Like, especially when you talk about having your own kids, that sort of thing. There's big, I'm not trying to be sort of too personal, tell me if I'm going too far, but there are sort of big aspects of that which maybe you haven't directly learned about. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. It affected everything from relationships to school to sleeping, eating, work. I had just so much anxiety in any situation that everything has just been like a struggle. It's only recently started to get a little bit more manageable.
You seem very self-aware though, considering all of this shit, because we just did a podcast earlier today where we sat with a guy who was a lot older than you, who was nowhere near as self-aware as what you are, and he stands up in front of people, talks all the time.
Can we really say that?
I don't give a fuck.
That's so good.
Just said it, mate.
He was a lovely guy.
And I'm not saying he wasn't a lovely guy, but what I'm saying is, to be fair to you, I sit and interview people. We do this all the time, and you pick up on who's aware of what's going on in a conversation and when to say what, and you sort of get a feel if someone's either switched on or they're a little bit off. And you seem switched on, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm also just like very much aware of people who've been through something incredibly traumatic. Some people consider, something that other people consider to be very minor in their lives to be something very traumatic. But once you're in that sort of system of therapy and treatment and all that kind of mentality, especially in the States, I'd imagine, which is very different to the way I imagine UK thinking is, it can change the way that you feel about yourself as well. You almost get into a lifestyle where you become a little bit dependent on that if you don't get the right treatment or if you don't treat it in the right way. So do you feel like you're on like a good path towards, again, I'm not saying you need to fix yourself, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I haven't been in therapy for a few months. I haven't really been doing any of the like normal treatment type stuff. Kind of just have been indulging in a lot of drugs.
Alright, we need some context on here.
I love how Charlie's trying. Mate, your public image is fucked. Just accept it. It's absolutely fucked.
I actually,
Charlie rocks up and suddenly she's treating herself with drugs. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay, something I've changed my mind about since the last time I came on here. Like, we had a lot of conversations about drugs and kind of like glorified it, because I do think that drugs have loads and loads of benefits.
Did you get those messages from those kids too?
Yeah,
I glorified.
I got all the fucking messages.
It's a gateway. It's a gateway.
Okay, so the thing is, I still stand by, I think all the benefits that we spoke about are there. Yeah. It's just that recently, having had some traumatic experiences with hallucinogenic drugs specifically, I think
you had some bad trips, did you?
Fuck, I'll tell you about it. It's fucking...
No, can we... Tell us now.
No, I just want to say that I think that I was pretty bad by not giving more precautions for people when I was saying, hey, take this and take this. I was underestimating how much damage like mentally you can get from it. So like we had some fucked up experiences. I'll tell you about one of them. I want to say like I want to say that even though it was probably the worst experience of my life, it was also probably one of the things that's made me grow the most, and that we've like one of the thematics throughout our relationship is that bad shit happens, but as long as you take the good things out of it, then it's not really bad. It's just something that happened, and you learn from it and try not to make the same mistakes again. So like, okay, Hannah and I have had taken shrooms and acids a bunch of times at parties by ourselves with friends, and it all gone pretty fucking well. And we'd had really good introspection from it, really good experiences. We had some synthetic shrooms, which we ordered off the dark web, which are like some colorful bottles. I'd only tried it once. I tried it in a private private poker game, where me and some other guy just took shrooms and the other people didn't, and it was fucking amazing. The problem with drugs is that and Hannah with drugs is that her brain acts very uniquely towards drugs, and you never really know what you're going to get, like a bag of rebels. And so Hannah had been pushing to try and take shrooms quite a lot. This is a really delicate story, so I'm going to have to really tread carefully, and you'll see why. Okay. So Hannah was like, okay, can we take shrooms tonight? And I was like, I'd say about 25% of me wants to. So I was like, all right, back to the dice life. All right, we'll flip a coin. If it comes heads twice, we'll take shrooms. Heads. Okay. So we take a bottle each of these synthetic shrooms. Not completely sure about which dose it was, but I was like,
just had a cute little mushroom with a smiley face.
Very innocent
Drink
looking.
the whole bottle.
It's like Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, exactly.
It was so cute. And okay, so the way it went down is that we were sitting just talking in bed, maybe watching something, just waiting to come
Skins.
up. Watching Skins. Yeah. Like going to Skins.
Right.
But shout out to being 14. It was very
Yeah.
And she starts getting kind of like panicky while sitting next to me, and which is kind of normal. It happens quite a lot with Hannah in general, getting panicky about stuff. So I wasn't too worried. It got a bit worse, and then she started saying that she was scared of me, and I was just like in a really playful mood, but like, what?
I'm sorry. I can just imagine be like, what? I'm not scared.
I'm just a little kid at the moment. Yeah. I was like, it's okay, I'm gonna go sit in the corner, because this is where scary people sit, apparently. And then Hannah started getting some flashbacks, like some PTSD flashbacks. And
Amnesia Girl was out.
And Amnesia Girl was out. So like it went like, the sequence was she would get a flashback, then Amnesia Girl would come out and she'd be like, I don't know where I am, I don't know who I am, I don't know what's going on, who are you? And I'd be like, I'm Charlie, this is what's...
No. It was like me, and then it was like Amnesia Girl mixed with like bad traumatic stuff, and then it would be like a bad flashback.
And a couple of mushroom drinks thrown in there as well.
So I would explain to Amnesia Girl, and if you've ever seen the film 50 First Dates,
yeah, I have.
Right.
It was literally just like that. It happened like 5 or 6 times.
You're playing the video every morning.
I was like, okay, here's what's going on. I'm your boyfriend. Then another thing would happen, and she'd forget, and I'd be like, here's what's going on. I'm your boyfriend. You got DID, okay? But she would get progressively more and more scared of me, and she started getting confused between. Do you want to say that?
Yes.
I do.
I also had just started my period and was in intense pain and wasn't aware of that happening. So I was in physical pain, and then I was having traumatic memories.
This is my worst nightmare.
Your period's starting.
No, I generally you are a high maintenance woman, like, I've got to admit. No offense though, but
I know.
Also,
I think it's good that you've got Charlie, that's all I can say.
Such a terrible suggestion when you start your period to then decide to do shrooms then, like, that's just...
the thing is like I wasn't in pain, and I wasn't aware that was causing it. I wasn't aware that I was in pain. Really, it was just all kind of mashed together.
So I just want to like really tread carefully in it. I hopefully just can I tell the story just because if it would reflect very badly on me if. What's that?
We don't allow spoilers on the True Geordie podcast.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, I was about to. Okay, so
Just don't say I shit myself. I think that's
okay, so Hannah was getting flashbacks of someone in her past raping her. And she was also getting me confused with that person. So like she would get feelings, even though she would know logically that wasn't the case, that I was that person. And from this moment, something I've taken to custom to, if I'm telling someone this story, and I thought it would be good for being on this podcast, I'm going to replace the word rape with save. Just so you know, I'm making that transition in case someone just like tunes in halfway through, and because that would reflect super bad on me. So we didn't have any physical contact throughout the night. And I was just like being super just like nice. It was like, it's okay, I'll leave if you want. And eventually she was like, I don't know, I feel like you're gonna rape me. Save me. It's so tricky.
just leave it. It's fine. Let's move on.
And I was like, okay, I will go out the room. And I was just like on my phone to my friend, just being like, this is what's going on. I'm really sad because I can't give Hannah a hug because she's terrified of me.
Screaming,
crying, going like, oh my God, don't get away from me, get away from me.
Is this in a hotel or is this?
It was just in our house.
Right.
Yeah, poor neighbours, man.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
They haven't said a word, but they've had some fucked up shit.
It was 6 hours of screaming.
Yeah.
This was a really long progression.
Did the police not come? Or nothing?
No.
Yeah, it's
Terrible neighbors.
super lucky.
They're like,
I know, that's what I
Really
thought
bad
too.
neighbours.
So I go into the living room. Hannah then follows me and goes, Charlie, it's okay. I know it's you. I know nothing's going on. We're fine. And I was like, phew, okay, it's over.
I was like, Charlie, please help me. I'm so scared.
Yeah. Okay. So then Hannah then goes back and she's like, no, it's happening again, and then is on the floor like running away or like pushing herself away from something, screaming like, get away from me. Very sad for me, but I was like trying to just like be a bit more controlled, be like, it's okay, here's what's going on, we're fine. She then sits up whilst I'm on my phone being like, fuck, this is what's going on, and goes, Charlie, I can't believe you did it.
No.
You fucked it. Okay, what?
sorry, that was a really good reenactment. That was totally it.
I was like, Charlie, what did you do?
Yeah,
And he was like, what do you mean? And I was just like, what happened? You hurt me. It was just this
something
like
along those lines.
long period of just like
Being
like
accused.
questioning him, and then I, for some reason, started piecing together this whole like elaborate story of what went down, and then.
Thanks. Okay, so pretty quickly she came to the conclusion that I had saved her. And she was very, very convinced, and as you can imagine, if you're convinced that someone who you previously considered the love of your life to have saved you, that, and after her previous experiences with everyone in her life saving her as well, that is extremely traumatic for her. And then from my perspective, I was like, well, fuck, I don't know if this is ever going to go away. Like, is she just going to think that I saved her like for the rest of our lives? Is there going to be like a court case going on? I'm on shrooms right now. I just don't know what the fuck's going on. Being on shrooms, fucking nightmare when you got to deal with that.
You're the
shit.
next fucking Weinstein at this point in your life. You're like, what? Yeah,
No.
The Weinstein of poker.
The dream title. So yeah, this went on for a while, and then Hannah starts demanding an ambulance. She's like, fuck this, I can't trust you, I can't trust any of your friends. You've also saved all of these people, and I've been saved by all of your friends, and you've saved all of these people, and you've got control over everything, and like these webs of delusion just kept growing to the point where like an example was, she was like, and you know what, I'm really thirsty, but I'm not gonna drink water out of your taps because I don't know, you bought this building, haven't you? And in her mind, it was like she was usually when sober in like the Matrix, and then when she was tripping, she had taken like the red pill and she could see everything for how it was. So everything that I said would be like fake news.
So how did this sort of episode end?
So she's yelling at me saying, fucking get an ambulance. I need an ambulance. Get me an ambulance. Yeah. Fuck you, what you've done is disgusting. I can't believe you did that. I loved you so much. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, okay, phone my friend who's like, she's...
Look, mate, you're going to need to dress up like a paramedic. He's like, you're in luck because it's Halloween. I'll just get a costume.
And I was like, okay. Hannah thinks that I saved her, and my friend obviously didn't know that what was going on. She's like, okay, obviously Hannah thinks that you've crossed some boundaries. I was like, no, haven't fucking touched her. And she was like, well, obviously she thinks, and luckily Hannah like rang the bell, like she blew the whistle on herself by going, you know what, Donna, you saved me too. I was like, phew. Okay, now she knows what's going on. Now Donna knows what's going on. And then Donna's my friend Donna, who's like an expert on this kind of stuff. She's really good at that kind of stuff. She says, yeah, it's just hallucinogenics in general. She spent like a month with shamans taking ayahuasca in the Amazon rainforest. She's fucking sick. She said, okay, well, the most important thing you can do is make sure that if Hannah knows if she needs you to get an ambulance, you'll get her an ambulance. And I was like, fuck, really? Do I have to? I'm on shrooms and she's going to accuse me of save. Yeah. So I hung up the phone from Donna and I was like, well, I guess this is happening now. I guess this is my life. This sucks.
For a man like me who's always in control of every situation, to be hearing you go through all of this crazy shit, I'm like, this would never fucking happen. As soon as she said the word rape, I'd be like,
Ryan's like,
see you later.
Thanks, Pat.
That's me. I closed the fucking door. I said, I did what to you? Boom, slam the door. Bring your own fucking ambulance.
That's so weird. I didn't do it.
I think people heard rape.
I didn't do it.
Alright.
Give me a sec.
So the alarm's going off.
Yeah.
The alarm's going off. The alarm's going off. We're gonna die. Thanks for watching the True Geordie podcast.
And these were our final words.
Don't save me. No, do save me. That's a code word.
Right.
Where the fuck do we go from here? Well,
I was midway through the save story.
yeah. And, in the end, you actually saved her, so that was fine then.
That's not.
No, I code word. I did not say that.
No more code words.
Yeah.
Actually saved.
Yeah.
So like the way
what safe word should we have? Safe word. No.
You really need, when you redo that, just make it something else. Cuddle. Sorry.
So like you just spoke about Harvey Weinstein. That's what he said about those things.
It's all kicking off in London right now.
No, it isn't. Nothing's happening.
Yeah, zero's happening because everyone's crazy.
Speaking English. So you didn't call an ambulance.
Just to finish the story, because obviously I was stuck with the dilemma of either not calling an ambulance and essentially just holding someone captive, which is pretty bad, and she was like screaming, or phone an ambulance and then have like a policeman come and her tell people that I'd saved her and shit like that. I was like, both of those options sound shit. Which one would you go for?
Totally
honestly.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea, and like the only thing that came to my mind is like maybe this will stop when she's sober. And I was like, how do I buy time? And I was like, all right. So at the moment, at that time, I'd been kind of like not feeling because it's like emotions aren't going to help right now, and I have like my defense mechanisms from when I was bullied and whatnot that kind of kick in these spots. I was like, the only thing I could think of was like I just have to feel and try and buy some time with that. So I just tried to make myself feel, and it helped because I was on shrooms, and I just cried. I cried so much. It was the most I've ever cried in my life, and I felt all the emotions. I was like really trying to come to terms with the fact that my life with Hannah might be over and that my life might now become some giant save case. And I cried. I cried for my mum. I was rolling on the floor, and luckily, even though it didn't convince Hannah that I was innocent, she came over and was like, "It's okay. I'm sure you got forced into this," because she thought I was like running some save ring. And
I also thought he was acting, and I thought he was going to kill me if I went close to him.
Yeah. But look, I just kept crying, kept rolling on the floor. Went to bed. I was like, I can't do this. Please stop. Please don't do this to me. I didn't do anything. I didn't touch you. And slowly, after the shrooms started wearing off, she started being a bit like, okay, maybe we'll find out. Okay, we'll go to the doctor in the morning, and if he says I've been saved, then and.
What's it like for you looking back on that story and knowing that you acted that way?
It's kind of relieving, because a lot of the stuff that I've experienced with surrounding trauma has to do with missing memories. And so an experience like that, where I had no control of what I was saying, what I was doing, how I was acting, to come out in that type of way is kind of comforting, because it just means something really bad happened, if that makes sense. Because a lot of this stuff,
it's like a
yeah,
confirmation.
It's not just like dreams or anything.
Yeah, I think a large part of Hannah coming to terms with the fact that she was abused so much has been a lot of self-doubt, because it does happen. It's like, there's no way this could be real. Like, when does this actually happen? Insane. But then when there are like legitimate concrete confirmations like that, it's like, okay, yeah, that's definitely a thing. I think from like when I phoned my friend, she said from a sober perspective that it sounded like it was actually quite healthy for Hannah to get all of the emotions out the way that she did, because she'd never had anyone to blame. She'd never been able to like really yell at someone and be like, fuck you, this is what you've done to me.
Feels good, that, actually.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that I was on the receiving end.
Yes.
You're the perfect little punching bag.
Right? Perfect verbal punching bag.
Do you know what I mean? You picked the perfect
is really utilised quite hard. And yeah, so that happened, and then about 3 weeks later, I'm not going to do the whole story, but basically she had a shroom experience she was with a couple of friends, and I was doing shrooms by myself. I had a great time, she had a great time. She came back, and then when she came back, she just switched again, and she was like...
Were you with girls the other time?
Mm-mm.
No, they were like my friends,
right.
but I didn't want to join them because I was just like, I want to do stuff by myself.
Do you do that a lot? Just sit on your Todd?
Not too much, but I had some stuff that I wanted to work through, like on myself, and I felt like it'd be better than doing it with a couple of friends that I wasn't that close with.
You keep alluding to other things that you haven't talked about on the last podcast. Is there anything like that you want to talk about?
There's fuckloads, man. Like, okay, so at the moment, I just created a video that I'm going to start a YouTube channel on. And it's along the lines of seeing through the lens of someone that used to identify as a psychopath. So like a large part of my life from the ages of like 13 to 21, I had just like zero emotion. And if you went through like the psychopath checklist, there's one called the Bob Hare psychopathy checklist, I ticked every single one.
When you talk, I must admit, is it like you've got a way of talking that isn't dissimilar to when you see someone interviewed after they've killed someone. I know that sounds so. Do you know what I'm saying?
Like
you speak sort of emotionless sometimes. Even when you're describing a really emotional moment, you'll say, "And then we did this, and then I did that, and then it's like, whoa, you're talking about like." Do you know what I mean? Like, and obviously you've worked on that, and you're now more in touch with your emotions, what you were. And is that sort of you're going to give those experiences?
Yeah. So. The thing is that when I was younger, I was super autistic. When I was between 13, 21 kind of age, I was really psychopathic. And now I'm emotional, but I sometimes drop back into like an autistic version of myself or a psychopathic version of myself. And I don't think that people with DID or multiple personality have like a monopoly on the concept of having different versions of oneself. I think that different people can get in touch with different versions of themselves.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, even regular people have different heads they put on for different situations, whether you're with family or friends or you're with a boy or a girl or whoever. So you've just got a really extreme sort of version of that, I guess. Yeah,
pretty much. So when in these kind of interviews, for instance, my psychopathic version will come out because I don't want to have anxiety. And it's not like an intentional thing, but it's just like...
I can understand
that. I don't want to turn up and be an autistic version of myself, not be able to make eye contact, not be able to like speak about anything. So when I'm speaking to you guys, I just like don't feel a fucking thing, but I'm just like I'm just like entertained by everything. But it was like a really, really large portion of my life, to the point where I thought that was my whole life. It was going to be like that, where I just didn't have any kind of emotion at all, like no visceral feelings inside of me, which I don't know if you've ever experienced like elongated periods of that time. It's really kind of nice to know that you can't have a bad day. It's like the analogy that like.
But do you ever have a good day?
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't really. I was like.
You just saw like.
Yeah, I was just content like a lot. That's the only way.
For me though, if I'm you, there's times where, like, say for example, I'm in a relationship and I'm seeing this person, you sort of feel in love or whatever, and then you're like, am I really feeling in love, or is this just me telling myself I'm in love because I don't want to feel autistic anymore? Or like, what's real? And then you're sort of in this search of like.
Yeah, so I used to get that a lot with my relationships. I remember thinking that I was really in love with someone, and then the next day being like, obviously I never loved them. And the reason for that would be because one day I'd feel loads towards them, and the next day I'd feel nothing towards them, and I didn't have an awareness that I was going through one phase to another phase. So I would just think that my emotions at that time were just like, that was it. But now I've got a lot more self-awareness, I think, of that kind of stuff. So even if I'm feeling nothing towards Hannah, then I just be like, I still love you, and I'm still going to treat you as best as I can, still going to not lie to you, still not going to cheat on you, anything like that. But back in the day, I didn't have that kind of awareness, and I just went off rampant, you know.
Sounds like you're grown up, mate.
Almost. Getting there, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got any more questions you want to ask?
I guess I'm just sort of interested in the dynamic between the two of you, because it does seem like you both kind of acknowledge maybe not what would you call it, like sort of the personality of the other person, and seem to accept that, which is
yeah, that's a nice thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it is very nice.
You're more accepting of each other than what a normal couple would be our age.
The funny thing about that is I think, like, for him, he said, like, the Dice Man was really intriguing to him about, like, all the different personalities, complex, all that type of thing. For me, growing up, I was in love with serial killers, and
not that I'm a serial killer,
right,
just to put that out there.
But that
aspects,
type of
right.
Yes, that type of, like, person,
high stakes type people.
But and as soon as I learned about, like, psychopaths and all that type of, like, dark person, I was extremely drawn to that, and I would tell my mom, like, oh, I'm in love with I can't remember his name at the moment, but a very famous, like, serial killer, and she's like, how dare you say that name in this house?
Right.
Number one. So I think for both of us, we've just kind of, like, gravitated toward each other, finding that what the other person had is that something that we've wanted for a long time.
But can also be just normal ourselves around each other as well. Like, I can be super, super emotional around her and feel, like, accepted. Yeah. Unless Adam's out.
Right.
Adam,
or James.
Yeah,
Fucking Adam.
Oh yeah, the story of when James came out the first time.
No.
Alright, so we were in Barcelona for, like, a poker tournament. Hannah had come with me, and she was feeling, like, pretty neglected because I had to go play every day, and I was seeing exes whilst I was there because they were in the same industry. And James took that opportunity to come out for the first time, and before I got back, James had self-harmed, right. And then when James introduced himself to me, it was the weirdest thing, man. So, like, Hannah was lying on the bed, and she starts having this, like, demonic seizure where she's, like, writhing around, like, going, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
The power of Christ comparison.
It's like, get out of here, just stop it.
To be fair, when you don't give a woman attention, shit like that will happen.
They'll do anything for fucking attention.
Honestly, mate, this could all be bullshit for all we know. Do you know what I mean?
You're always thinking, maybe.
10 years later, it worked.
She got my attention, yeah.
Get
nailed
their
it.
Attention.
So he starts writhing around and punching, scratching, doing anything to hurt herself, and then stops, sits up, looks at me like this with the most malicious smile you've ever seen in your life.
I quite like evil women still.
I was like, well, I'm a bit turned on now.
It's so fucking true. Evil women.
Yeah, and it, like, genuinely the most malice and sadism I've ever seen in a facial expression. It's like a caricature of evil. Right. And said something along the lines of, like, I think he said to you in your head something along the lines of, like, show him my handiwork, which was, like, the self-harm. And
can I ask, because in this documentary the voices change every time. What's your voice like when you?
My voice changes.
Yeah, a lot.
It's so weird, like that documentary. Her voice really changed, like, fuck tons.
Yeah.
Show him my handiwork.
Fucking.
We're going home tonight thinking, I'll tell you, we've got the most normal lines ever. Shut the fuck up.
Oh no! He's caught DID.
Yeah.
Show him my hand. That is the sickest shit ever. Oh, fuck's sake. Kid. Honestly, I thought I'd been with some like women in my time, like, but no woman's ever said that to me.
Do you mind saying the thing that he showed you in your head of hurting?
I mean, you could.
Yeah. Okay. So like at the same time, he would like give Hannah images, like really, really vivid images of like putting a knife in my back and like ripping my entrails out. Hannah would have to tell me about this, and I'd be like, "Should I go sleep in another room?"
Yeah,
She's like, "No, you're fine." I'd be like, "I don't feel fine."
Yeah.
So there was a good week after that I was a bit on edge. Like every single time I go to sleep, I'd be like, "Am I waking up?"
Oh God, I really feel like this is going to be played in court somewhere. Oh God.
This will be evidence.
We had no idea.
As
Absolutely
it turns
not.
out, I'm over 99% sure that I'm not in any physical danger. Like
She's a pretty small girl. I think you'd fight her off.
Yeah. Small people don't use knives very well.
Knives and knives. Though, you know?
A knife in the back. I mean, that would be.
You walk it off, won't you?
Just roll the dice. You know.
No harm done. You know what I mean? Yeah.
These are an odd couple, but a fun couple to be around. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Definitely want another one.
Yeah.
I'm on a third.
I'm not taking you out for drinks. Let's put it that way. But,
Come on, we got shrooms coming.
Yeah.
That's my you can go home, mate.
Yeah, literally. If you're on a shroom party or something.
Well, we can't say for sure.
Yeah, nothing happening.
Not in the UK.
Definitely.
I've got a lot of sponsors I've got to keep happy. So you
What are the
guys can
chances?
do whatever you want. I'll be happy with good old H2O.
Yeah. That's my Radox.
Mate, this has been a mad podcast, but I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, I really feel like I need a little bit of time to go and process this, and then when you guys are in London, we read the comments, sort of synthesize those comments a little bit, see how many people create sort of parody accounts for each of those personalities, and then begin to comment as those people on YouTube.
So something I want to mention, you can edit this out if you don't want. I think Hannah and I are both going to do a Reddit AMA, and I don't mind like paying you guys a bunch of money if you want to like.
No. That's wait. I mean, what's interesting about it though is that Reddit AMAs really are as brutal. I mean, people get really pretty fucking deep, don't they? Yeah.
I love it.
What kind of
what's a Reddit AMA again?
Ask me anything.
Ask me anything. So
what kind of compels you, I guess, to share that story? Because at the same time, a lot of couples who are going through or would have had any of those experiences would have just been like, let's just keep that one between ourselves. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay, you go.
I think a lot of people probably don't experience that type of stuff and would find it interesting. And we're both the type of person that to understand what we're going through is to share it and get other people's reactions and learn from that. So it's kind of just like putting our feelers out there. And
I think it can be really helpful for other people as well that are suffering through either trauma or DID, because it goes super undiagnosed really often. And if Hannah speaks openly about it and says, "Hey, this is what I'm going through," do you reckon? Like, and
I bet you would get some reaction from this.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. So, are you sticking with poker? Is that always going to be in your life? Yeah.
I'm going on to other things at the moment. I've kind of like stopped poker mainly. I'm going on to business and getting into cryptocurrencies and getting into charity as well, which is the next
We're
big
setting
one.
up a business.
Yeah.
We'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
And what about you? So, what's your sort of goal right now? Have you got anything that you want to do?
boy, I'm kind of trying to get into like the modeling industry.
You're on Instagram.
Yes.
What kind of modeling?
Seen
Like
the
sort
Instagram?
of like a runway sort of thing, or like a
I guess right now it's kind of just like social media type stuff to get companies to have me promote their products.
so
like
send you
like
things
that.
essentially,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
We'll put your Instagram in the description as well. That'll help.
A lot of guys will follow you.
A lot.
Just
lot of men.
pause the video now.
Me
Go and click that link.
Yeah, let's promote a bit. Like Hannah is going to be posting a bunch about DID, and she's going to be posting a bunch about her yoga that she does, dancing that she does loads of, and loads of modeling photos as well. Which I think she wants to get into like high fashion modeling as well.
Have you guys at all thought about photographing the different personalities?
Yeah.
Yes, I actually do have one post on my Instagram of Adam.
Right.
And he took the pictures and
So it's like selfies.
yeah.
Okay. Wow.
You know, and yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, there's an exhibition right there.
That'd be a pretty
Do you know what I
cool
mean?
photo shoot, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd be so
Do
sick.
one for each.
You'd have to be there for a while to try and like
No, but
lure them out. But
even as Hannah, you could sort of mock up the photo shoot of what you think they'd want to have.
yeah, that's
Do you know what I mean? That'd be
I don't know, you sort of
that'd
want
be
that
really
real
sick,
personality there in a way that like you almost want that person to be in that moment. Do you know what I mean?
Like trying to reenact the way that I would hold my face or position my body or the clothes that I would wear. It's really hard to like think of all those things. So to have them just come out is super easy compared to trying to
Yeah. But there is an exhibition in there, isn't there? There's also what I feel is a series of Louis Theroux's Weird Weekends coming up at some point.
Louis
fucking
Theroux
love
pay
it.
me
where
some money.
Brian just spends a solid maybe week with you guys.
So I'm not thinking about doing some like mini docs. Like
It would be
that.
quite
That'd be
interesting.
so
Like
sick.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
maybe when you have a poker tournament on, like
I'd love that.
right, you can come and
Fuck
spend
yeah.
some time with him, and you guys just spend some time, just spend normal days, those sort of things.
I think we would have a documentary that would be a bit different to what they edit out of BBC and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we'd end up with maybe a short series. But I mean, it would be quite interesting to see what your daily life is like. 'Cause
That'd be
obviously, there's also, I think there's a real difference between obviously the public image that people want to portray and a very private image, because even now you're still sort of telling your own story as opposed to someone else maybe from the outside being like,
exactly.
Well, it is a bit different when you sort of tell your whole life story and sit down with someone rather than just us being there with you.
Yeah, I feel a lot more open and like we're on display when I speak to you guys than if I'm in other interviews where I just have to like select because we have 10 minutes. I have to like tell them the best bits. But,
Yeah.
I could
it's
stay in
like-
your hotel with you. It'd be great.
Yeah.
Let's hope one of the personalities doesn't come into my bedroom because God only knows what would happen then.
to be fair, to your luck, it would probably be where your entrails end up on the floor. It's like, yeah.
You saved me. Sorry about that. All right.
It's been really fascinating to chat to you guys.
Honestly,
I
I
almost
really
feel a
enjoyed
little
it.
bit. I almost feel slightly sort of.
Wanting more.
No, what's the word? I mean, I definitely do want to interview you guys more, but voyeuristic in a way. Yeah. Some of the stories feel a little voyeuristic, where you're kind of looking
That's
in.
because you're good at telling stories.
Yeah, where you're sort of looking in someone's life and you're not taking pleasure in their pain, but sort of like you feel an element.
Okay,
I think there's a highly relatable element, especially after the first podcast you came on.
Yeah.
And people
I just
sort of
admire
relate.
the honesty, mate. Like, because not many people have got the balls to come on a podcast where a lot of people are going to watch and be like, I have moments where I'm fucking acting daft and that. And,
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
You really bring it out in us, I think.
Well, because I'm an obvious daft cunt myself. Do you know what I mean?
Like
Yeah.
you ask the questions that are like not over the line, but like near the line.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. That
It's
you're just
hard.
like really dancing on the edge of it, where most people would just stay like 3 miles away from it because they don't want to say the word rape and be like saying something
I just think
completely out of order.
because I think when you've done as many podcasts as I have, people know where the questions are coming from, and I'm not a bad person.
Yeah,
And I'm
exactly.
just a nosy little bastard. And I think because of that, I'm not trying to upset your feelings, and I hope I haven't done either. I just want to know more.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll do a third.
Fuck yeah.
Really lovely to meet you. Really nice to have
Absolute
you down
pleasure.
as well.
Thanks
and thank you
for
very much.
having
You
us.
did really well
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, thank you.
You did fantastic because
Nailed it.
the first girl, she was like, an actress who was
Very open as well.
Very used to being in front of the camera. Obviously, you're in front of the camera in a different way.
Very comfortable.
Yeah.
You didn't get your tits out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Well done on that one. Yeah.
you did really. Perriers did really well. So thanks for coming on. We'll put all of your social media stuff in the description and the Instagram, everything that you just want to do. What was that Reddit account as well?
Reddit.
I'll put that in.
Yeah.
If you mix
Yeah,
it in
it
time.
doesn't understand Reddit. It's all right.
I don't
I'll
know.
explain it to you later, Grandad.
So yeah, thanks for watching. Stay subscribed. We'll see you later.